Welcome to the next episode of Flyer Nation. I'm your host, Matt Mohan. Today, we are going to be taking a behind-the-scenes look at the men's and women's cross-country teams. Don't forget, if you missed our last episode, you can check it out on the Lewis University Television Network's YouTube channel, where we spotlighted the men's basketball team. Today, to start our program, I'm joined by Coach James Kearney, coach of both the men's and women's cross-country teams here at Lewis. Coach, how are you today? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So you guys are season is already in full swing. You've been going for a few months now. You've had a few meets. How would you rate your guys' season so far as it stands from both the men's and women's side?
Yeah, we're mid-playoff beard right now. So we're we're running into the postseason. We have our conference meet this Saturday. I'm anxious, obviously, with kind of how things are. You build all year for this. So I'm very interested to see how things play out for us as we start to kind of finish up the postseason here and start to really delve into the meat and potatoes of the season. I think we're in a good spot, but it's just so hard to tell. We've been working very hard, and I'm excited to see the results of that. But like I said, it's just until you run the race, you have no idea.
Very interesting. The high pressure running starts now. We'll get into a little bit more of the team's performance later in the show, but now let's talk a little bit about you. This is your 9th year here at Lewis now. You've been involved in both cross country and track and field. It's your 5th year coaching both the men's and women's cross country teams. Could you just give us a little bit of a background about yourself, what you did before you became a coach, and why you chose to coach here at Lewis?
Yeah. So before I arrived at Lewis, I spent a year after I finished my undergrad degree at a small school in Northwest Indiana. I was a facilities guy and the men's cross-country coach. It was very rewarding. And painting the lines in the parking lot and doing some of those things weren't as bad because I was always looking forward to practice. I wasn't real sure if that's what I really wanted to do with my life. But once I kind of found that the passion, the calling, it really drove me to then accept the position here. And that's 9 years. It went very fast. And now the last 5 as the head coach have been really exciting. I think Lewis has really done a lot in investing in me and some of our ideas. And that's been having that loyalty is a big part of something that we want to continue to give back to the program and continue to expand upon as we tend to move forward here.
Yeah, you mentioned that you used to run back in the day. How is it being? I'm sure you had a lot of different coaches and a lot of different sports when you were younger. How is it now being on the other side of the coin now that you are the coach? What do you enjoy most about leading these young men and women every single day?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say, using my personal running experiences, I probably made every mistake that you can make as an athlete. So kind of teaching them, the pitfalls to avoid and teaching them some of the things that, I learned, by doing all the wrong things, and using my experiences to help further theirs, and teaching them from a place of experience rather than just, sitting on a high horse and kind of dictating. My time as a runner was extremely rewarding, and I don't think that I would trade that for much, if anything at all. So being able to kind of share that passion and share what drives me and how I've used that experience to drive myself professionally now is something that I'd like to continue to build here and continue to take forward with a lot of the athletes, and using the sport to better themselves, I think is a real big part of why I enjoy doing this every day.
Yeah, it's very important now that you had that experience. It's very interesting that you can find that way to relate with your athletes on a daily basis. Now, when you came here, the program wasn't really doing that well. I know they didn't make a championship meet until about the year 2000. That's changed almost immediately since you've got here. Your athletes have had a lot of success. You've qualified for 2 championship meets on the men's side and 2 on the women's side. Your athletes have been killing it with a lot of great results and a lot of different meets. What specifically about the values that you've instilled in this program have had such a positive impact on these athletes?
Yeah, well, you've done your research. So, I think that the biggest thing is when I came, there wasn't really a drive towards accomplishing something bigger than the self. And so that was something that I I was a part of a really special team in college, and we accomplished a lot, and we're still really involved in each other's lives. And that was something that I wanted to impart on the athletes and really build a culture of success and a sustained culture of success. And so, looking at, when I first arrived, like making a national meet was kind of a joke. And now that's kind of the expectation.
Yeah.
And now it's morphing our expectations to just making the meet to, moving that forward to being top 10, being top 5. How do we consistently achieve this level of success? And that's something that, we're working towards every day. There are some, ups and downs as you go with that, as with anything. But I think that when you get the right people and you build a culture of excellence and a pursuit of excellence, I think that those things kind of start to go hand in hand then.
So you mentioned that your team's culture was different when you took the reins here about a decade ago. How would you say it's changed in the last decade and improved in any ways?
That's a great question. I inherited some fabulous people, and I think that they really set the table for what we're doing now. Some of the kids that we were able to kind of bring in and were hungry for success and hungry to do something, I think really laid the foundation for what we're able to accomplish now. But the students that we have now have really driven that forward. Like I said, the relentless pursuit of excellence is a big part of that. But it's a very disciplined sport, and it's a very taxing sport in times, and it takes a little bit of servanthood as well. And that means serving your teammate. That means pushing them when they don't feel good, and vice versa. I think that all of those things that we really look for in a student athlete was set up by the people that have come before them, and the people that will hopefully they'll pave the way for even further and continue to march us down the road to success.
Yeah, you've definitely instilled a great culture in these athletes. Let's talk about when you're recruiting runners to come to the school. Is it more important, do you look more at the character of the athlete or the potential success physically of the athlete?
Yeah, it's a hard balance.
Yeah,
Talent,
it's not easy.
talent is sometimes a fickle beast, but so it's balancing how are they going to fit with us. How are they going to come in and buy in? You can't measure their heart. You can. The nice part for us is a time is a time is a time. What they run on the track is what they're going to run on most tracks. So the observation part of it, that's pretty simple to do for us. I think the difficult part is measuring their desire, measuring their life skills, so to speak. Can they manage their time well? Are they disciplined enough to work at the level that we're looking to work at? So we look a lot at academics as well. I talk a lot to the high school coaches. I actually talk to a lot of the coaches that run against them and say, like, well, what do you know about this person? Or how do they fit? And what interactions have you observed? And then honestly, it's a lot of observations when I'm not even there to watch specifically them. How do they react to good situations, bad situations? All of that really plays into the decision-making process. How they communicate, what are people saying about them? That all means something, because when they put on our uniform, when they wear, kind of that Lewis cross country brand, I want them to be somebody that I can instill trust in, and someone that's going to represent us with the utmost respect and dignity.
Yeah, being a Lewis cross country runner is more than just what time you get. It's about the personality that you exude on a day-to-day basis. I love it. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll hear more from Coach James Kearney. Don't forget, later in the show, we'll have sophomore Ryan Porter and junior Stephanie Jarvis on the show. Stay with us. Welcome back to Flyer Nation. I am once again joined by head coach James Kearney of the men's and women's cross country teams. Coach, what are some of the biggest challenges that these athletes face on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, sacrifice. I would say that's the biggest thing. Their body is their tool, so to speak. Sometimes in other sports, not saying here, but in anything, like, you can stay up all night and still go out and probably make 9 out of 10 free throws. It's a skill, right? if you stay up all night, odds are you're probably not going to be able to run at the level we need you to be able to run at the intensity, and with the recovery in mind. You're probably not going to be recovered from the day before even. So there is a lot of sacrifice from kind of that typical college experience where it's like, oh, we stayed up all night and, ate pizza and, did something wild. It's like, we got to be in bed, because we're going to be up at 6 and we're going to get our morning run in, and then we're going to come back in the afternoon and we're going to get our afternoon workout in, and the body has to be prepared, absolutely. Yeah. And so it is a lot of sacrifice, but I think it's keeping your eyes on the prize. I think it's a big part of, recognizing that it's for a greater good. And that's something that we talk about almost on a daily basis,
I'm sure.
is what are we working towards? Why are we here? And that's something that I ask at the beginning of the year. Why are you here? Why did you pick here? You had a lot of options. Why Lewis? And that's something that I want them to reflect on, and something that when something's getting difficult, when it's a hard workout, when it's, when you're tired, when you don't want to, it's raining outside, it's snowing, you don't want to go out and run, why are you here? And I think that is something that gets them out of bed in the morning, and something that, when I'm asking them to do something that they're not sure that they can accomplish, something that they can reflect on and say, well, I'm at least going to give it a shot. And that's the big part for me. I think knowing your purpose, knowing what you're working for, and keeping that kind of in your mind's eye is what drives us every single day.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's a year-round commitment for most of these athletes. They face a lot of social pressures of college. What specific things can you do as a coach to help these kids overcome these obstacles?
We do a lot, I guess, of mentoring in that way. Weekly or bi-weekly meetings where we discuss what went well, what can we work on, how can we translate some of the practice things into better performance. Sometimes it's just listening, and
staying on top of them.
Exactly, and just observing, and the other part is like communicating with them every day and just looking them in the eye and saying, what's going on? And for me, I think that, again, that goes back to our culture. I think that there's a level of accountability on our group, and I think that teammates are doing a great job of holding one another accountable as well. They recognize that we're only as good as our weakest link.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, for us, we recognize that if we don't have 28 men on the same page or 15 women on the same page, odds are it's probably not going to happen every single day. And in order to achieve the level of success that we're hoping to get, everybody's got to be on the same page, and we've got to be working towards a common goal.
Yeah, you stress relationships. That sounds very important. Communication between coach and athlete and athlete and athlete. Let's talk about the academic side a little bit now. What are some of the specific goals that you have for your team as far as having success in the classroom is concerned?
Yeah, we don't really set a lot of goals in that realm, because I think it's almost just an expectation.
Yeah.
The level, absolutely, the level of discipline that it takes to be a successful collegiate distance runner is also probably going to be the level of discipline that you need to be successful in anything in life, and in particular in the classroom. You got to show up every day. If you're not running every day, odds are you probably aren't getting better. And if you're not showing up to class every day, odds are you're probably not retaining the information. So showing up every day is a big part of it. I think, and again, it's a pursuit of excellence. Everything we put ourselves out there to do and accomplish, we want to be successful with. And the big thing for me is if you're going to be successful in this avenue of your life, it's hopefully going to line up and be successful with all the avenues in your life.
Yeah, I really like that your program stresses kind of the overall embodiment of building an athlete's character, almost more than just what their performance on the race course shows. What specific lessons can you teach to these athletes that'll help them, in their careers once they've graduated down the road?
Yeah, I think one is the sacrifice aspect, right? You're not going to be kind of and I say this a lot, you're not going to be a Saturday night hero and a Sunday morning long run success, right? It's just not going to happen. So odds are when you have a giant work project or you're trying to accomplish something professionally, the intrinsic motivation that you've developed here is what's going to take you forward and be able to develop as a whole person and translate that into work projects or your career goals or your aspirations. We do a lot of goal setting, and being able to learn that here, I think, is the biggest part that we as coaches can impart on these young people. And learning that now when it's, you know, in a safe environment and somewhat where you can fail, you know, taking that forward then and being successful outside of the classroom, being successful in the workplace, and being successful in life as a whole, I think is something that you learn that skill here, and you're able to take it forward, and you're able to learn from maybe a mistake or two that you make in kind of a safe environment. So when it's not as safe,
Yeah, exactly.
you're able to be a lot more successful, and you're able to always achieve for more and impart that on everybody else around you as well.
Let's talk a little bit about training now. I know you guys have a huge meet coming up, October 26th. It's the GLVC Conference Championship meet. Now that we're getting into the postseason, how does your training differ as we prepare for these big meets late in the season where it's imperative that these athletes perform well? How is the training different now as opposed to just in the middle of the season or in the summer when they're getting ready for the season?
Yeah, you know, and backtracking towards the summer, you know, we've got athletes that are running on the men's side upwards of 100, 110 miles a week.
Wow.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
And
It's a commitment.
yeah, it's a huge commitment. That's 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, and so as we transition that into the middle of the season where things start to, you know, we work very general to very specific, but as we get towards the middle of the season, we're maintaining volume, we're maintaining a workload, but we're starting to add flavors of a little bit of speed work and a little bit of weight room and a little bit of more intensity.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the danger area where, you know, if you're not doing things correctly.
If you haven't built up all the miles in the summer,
Exactly.
you get injured, you could get hurt.
Yeah,
definitely.
and then, you know, if you're cheating now, you're cheating the end, because we build a lot towards, you know, the end, and it's all about the end. The meets that we're judged on are conference, regionals, nationals. That's what kind of we're judged on, and what work did you do over the summer? Well, that will show at the end of the year. And what work did you do, and how disciplined were you in the middle of the season? Well, that will show in the postseason. And so for us, you know, now as we get towards the postseason, it's kind of pulling things back a little bit, making sure that, like, we've locked in on the proper intensities, making sure that we're locked in on, you know, now that the volume is manageable and consistent, pulling some of that back and feeling rested and going to the line confident. You know, that's the biggest thing. We do a lot of workouts this time of year, not to progress fitness. It's more along the lines of just showing them, like, you're ready. You know, all you got to do is now go and accomplish it.
All right, so you guys, you build more for volume in the summer, you build up the intensity as you go throughout the season, and then you guys kind of pull back, you know, and taper your miles off now here late in the season. Has that been mostly consistent with back when you ran in high school and college? Has the training process evolved at all?
Yeah, I would say that it has evolved. There are some core competencies that you just can't change, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to be a better runner, you got to run. You know, and so that's definitely a baseline for what we accomplish here. If you're not aerobically fit, you're not going to be able to breathe. You know,
Yeah.
so we've definitely got to work on that and strengthening their heart and strengthening their musculature to handle the workload. But then the other part of it is things are very individual here. You know, every single person is getting an individual workout or pacing or amount or volume on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So I would say that has definitely evolved since when I was in high school, and it got a little bit more specific when I got to college. But when I was in college, I was one of those guys that, you know, ran myself ragged, maybe overworked a little bit. And so that's something that we're very cognizant of, and something that I think recovery and taking care of your body has definitely come more to the forefront when it comes to our sport specifically. I think a lot more coaches, and in particular here, we really focus on recovery, and we really focus on, you know, taking an extra day if we need it, or, you know, keeping an athlete-centered approach as opposed to just more program-centric. Making sure that the athlete's best interests are at heart when you're making decisions. You know, sometimes it's, hey, you know, I write 4 to 6 intervals, and, you know, I'm looking and I say, well, you're good at 4 and you can do more. Being able to do that, I think, and being able to evolve that comes from a little bit of experience from my personal, you know, running experience, but it also comes from the evolution of our program as well.
Yeah. It's evolved a lot over the times. It's important to work smarter, not harder necessarily
Absolutely.
at some times. All right, well, Coach, thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, We'll have sophomore Ryan Porter and junior Stephanie Jarvis from the men's and women's cross country teams. Stay with us. Welcome back to Flyer Nation. I am now joined by junior Stephanie Jarvis and sophomore Ryan Porter of the men's and women's cross country teams. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah.
So cross country is a tough sport. The coach mentioned how much of a grind it is on a daily basis. You guys have to push yourselves to the limits almost constantly. You know, despite all these struggles that you guys have to go through, what kind of draws you guys to the sport?
Honestly, I like the brutality of it. I like getting out there, being aggressive, running your own race, and I kind of like that. Even though it's a little bit individual, it is a team-based sport, so I like that aspect of it.
What about you, Ryan?
I think it's pretty kind of satisfying almost that we're doing something that a lot of people can't do, and a lot of people say that we're crazy for it and stuff. I think that's kind of, it's like a compliment almost. I kind of like it.
Yeah, very interesting. What about Lewis? Why did you guys decide to run here at Lewis?
Well, for me, James was one of the big reasons why I came. I felt like him and I connected really well, and when I met all the girls on the team, I got along with everyone, and another big part of it too was the major. So I'm a double major in forensics and criminal justice, so the fact that they had what I wanted definitely helped.
Nice. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, pretty much the same with connecting with Coach Kearney, and then I just had a pretty good overnight visit with some of the guys on the team. I think I connected real well with them. We had fun. We played pool. It was a fun night, and then also just I was able to do my major sport management here, which helps a lot.
Nice. Sounds like a great fit for both of you guys. Could you guys both just give me a little bit of a background about yourselves? Have you guys been running your entire lives before high school and before you guys came to college?
Yeah, so I've been running my whole life, basically since I could walk, but I never ran cross country in high school.
Really?
So I played volleyball in high school. I was dead set on playing volleyball in college, and then when I met with James, everything kind of changed with that. But I always ran track in high school, so I've been a runner all my life, but cross country was a new thing for me in college. So
Nice. Interesting.
yeah.
For me, I started cross country freshman year of high school. I didn't really know anything about it. I kind of just joined it, and I really liked it. And then I also played basketball for 4 years at my high school, and then I ran track.
Nice. So you guys have had experience playing other sports. What specific things about cross country do you guys enjoy that may be different, that maybe you can't get out of basketball or volleyball?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I like the mental aspect of it. You know, it is very difficult. Like we were saying before, it is a highly mental sport.
Yeah.
But just being able to grind it out all the time and then be able to see those results when you race and see PRs and everything, that's just kind of like Ryan was saying earlier, super satisfying. So
Yeah, for sure. It makes it all worth it, definitely.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you guys face on a daily basis?
For me, definitely, I'm tired all the time just from grinding it out,
Yeah,
but also
sure.
just being disciplined. You know, it is a lifestyle. We have to make a lot of sacrifices. We aren't always able to do as many fun things as we want to because we have practice, we have homework, job, whatever. But I think that's probably one of the hardest part is just figuring out when you can do stuff and balancing everything that you have in your life. So.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think balancing is probably the most challenging part, just knowing that you have to do all your homework, be in bed before 10 for sure, because we got practice at 6 in the morning, got to be up at 5:30. It's tough. That's probably the most challenging part.
Sure, yeah, it's a year-round commitment. It's a huge sacrifice. You know, when you guys are tired and down and out, how do you guys stay disciplined and make sure you guys are getting up in the morning, or maybe not, eating the right foods and making sure you're staying on top of your training? Is there anything specifically that you guys do to make sure you stay disciplined?
I wouldn't say for me there's anything specific that I do. Our girls team is really good about helping one another and kind of pushing each other through any ruts that we're in and keeping each other accountable for doing the hard work, doing the little things, which we stress so much in our just team culture and team atmosphere. So I really appreciate being able to fall back on the girls a little bit if I'm having a little bit of a hard time.
Yeah, I think staying like mentally tough and just knowing that you have your teammates there behind your back at all times.
Yeah, it is very mentally challenging. You guys are really going hard all the time. What would you say, staying disciplined and staying on top of it, what would you say are the benefits of all of this? What do you guys get out of running cross country?
Well, I think the discipline aspect just carries over into every aspect of your life. If you're able to, wake up at 6 in the morning on a Sunday and go do a 12, or for the guys, 18-mile long run, and then do your homework the rest of the day or go to work, just being able to do that is just, you just have to have the discipline, and it just makes you a better person in general. So
yeah, absolutely. The discipline definitely carries over into your careers and your schoolwork. One thing that a lot of people may not know about cross country is that it is a team sport. It's not just, you're not just running out there. It's not like just your neighborhood 5K. There's a team aspect involved. Could you guys just explain how it is scored to the people who may not be familiar with cross country?
Yeah, so it's scored as like the lowest score wins. So like if you were to get your team were to get first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, that would be 15 total points because you'd get 1 point for first, 2 points for second, 3 points.
Okay.
So it's kind of like
your
that.
place equals your points.
Yes,
and
pretty
the goal
much.
is to get your lowest score possible.
it's basically the opposite of every other sport where your goal is to get a high number of points. So
interesting. Yeah, so you guys' score, it all totals up, so you guys all have to perform well. It doesn't take just one person.
Just the top five.
Just the top five. Okay. All right. That makes sense. So, being that it is a team sport and you need everyone at least your top 5 to perform well and be high ranking, are there any team strategies that go into these races, or are you guys just out there running for yourselves at all times?
I think for the girls, we try and pack up. In the start, we all go out and we try to stay together as much as possible, because then for us, if we're all packed together, we have each other to feed on. If someone's struggling, we try and bring them with us. If we make a move, then we all make a move at once. So just trying to, pack up and just stay together as long as possible. So
Yeah. Staying together, it definitely keeps your mojo and your mentality up on the high.
And when you have a friend that you're running next to, it just makes it a lot
Someone
easier.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Very interesting. So let's talk about race days in the mornings. Are there any specific rituals or things that you guys do to get ready for a race?
I don't have anything really. I just have a certain pair of socks that I need to wear every time.
Nice.
And I always braid my hair in 2 French braid pigtails.
Nice.
It's just
Superstitious, just a little stitious.
yeah, just a little bit office reference there, yeah.
You, Ryan?
Pretty much just the shakeout run that we do, usually at a little bit before 7, and then any superstitious things, I put on my shoes the same way, left to right, and then I tie them left to right for some reason.
Yeah, just for some reason. No, definitely. That's interesting. So we've talked a lot about today about the sacrifices that you guys have to make, the mental grind that you guys go through on not only a daily basis, but all year round. You guys are running almost every day. In order to do that, it takes a lot of discipline. Are there any guilty pleasures that you guys try to stay away from, but just can't resist, you have to indulge in sometimes?
Yeah, I have a really bad sweet tooth, so even when we're in season, I eat a lot of candy, I eat a lot of chocolate, a lot of ice cream. I know James gets very irritated when he sees us eating anything unhealthy, but I think, okay, I did a 7-mile workout today, I deserve it, That's how I rationalize it. So, but I don't know if Ryan has anything.
I like cookies and brownies. I might have a soda here and there, but I try to limit it as much as possible.
I definitely don't limit myself. It's horrible, but that's all right.
Got it, yeah. Oh, very interesting, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll hear more from Ryan and Stephanie of the men's and women's cross-country teams. Stay with us. Welcome back to Flyer Nation. I am once again joined by Stephanie Jarvis and Ryan Porter of the men's and women's cross-country teams. Let's get a little bit more in depth now, because cross country, it's a very hard sport. When you guys are getting to the end of a race and you guys have to kind of push through that pain barrier when the fatigue is high and it would be easy just to quit and not run at your best, how do you guys, make sure that you push through and finish the race and finish at your best of your abilities?
Well, for me, I just kind of think of it as like everyone around me is hurting. I'm not the only one who's tired, who wants to quit. I just try and stay as positive as I can and definitely do it for the team. If I quit, I'm letting my team down. So it's kind of like I need to do this for my team in order to help them. And I just don't want to be selfish with it, because if you quit, like I said, you're letting your team down. Yeah. So just think of the team aspect of it as well. That
staying positive
helps
during
me get
the
through
middle
it.
of the race is the
sure.
best. I like counting down the miles to how much far I have to go. And then also, I don't really want to let my team down. I think that's just like kind of my mentality. I just don't want to let them down.
Definitely. It's definitely important. Just one weak link, if one person gives up, you're letting your entire team down for sure. Now, Stephanie, you are a double major, criminal justice and forensics. Ryan, you're a sports management major here at Lewis. What are your guys' career aspirations? What does the future hold for both of you guys?
Well, I would like to either be a canine
hopefully,
officer
I want
or
to be
a forensic
athletic
investigator.
director at the
Hopefully.
collegiate level.
Hopefully. Interesting.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
somewhere,
for sure.
maybe Division I. That's my goal.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds awesome. What have you guys learned from cross country that will help carry over in your careers, whether it be if you're an athletic director or if you're investigating a crime?
I think one of the biggest things for me, like going into law enforcement, I think it's just staying on the grind and being disciplined, and honestly keeping your emotions in check too. When you have a hard workout or whatever, you have a workout and then you do terrible, you can't dwell on that. You have to be like, all right, I had a bad workout. Just move on. There's still more workouts ahead. So just getting past negative things and just moving forward is definitely something that I've learned from cross country.
What advice would you guys give to younger athletes that may want to pursue running cross country at the collegiate level?
I would say make sure you really want to do it, because it's a big time, big sacrifice. You have to sacrifice a lot, that's for sure.
I think for me, I would say really focus on the little things. Anyone can go out and rip off a good workout or a good tempo run, but it's the stretching, it's the eating well, which I know is kind of contradictory because I don't eat well, but all of that stuff is a huge part of running that you just don't think about. And if you do all those little things, you're not going to get injured, and if you get injured, then you can't run, and then it's just like a whole negative cycle. So just staying on top of all the little things.
Definitely. Staying on top of the little things consistently every single day. Definitely. Your coach has talked a lot about the team culture that you guys have, the hard-working culture that he's instilled, and staying disciplined. How would you say the team culture that you guys have translates to the academic side and helps you in the classroom?
I think I know we've said discipline like a million times, but it is the discipline. You don't want to. No one really likes studying. Let's be real. And if you do, good for you. But you have a test the next day and you really don't want to study, but you need to. You need to stay disciplined and just grind it out, just like you do when you're running.
All right. Yeah. Now you guys both have smaller teams. Not that many seniors on either of your teams. Do you guys find yourself in more leadership roles now, even though you guys are underclassmen?
I think definitely, because the freshmen coming in, because we don't have any, I guess Oscar, we have 2 seniors, but that's really not that many. And so having the seniors and the juniors kind of work together to help the freshmen through classes, just running and life in general, because it is a big change from college from high school to college, just being there for them. I've definitely seen our juniors definitely step up and take that leadership role a little bit with other
Yeah, I
freshmen,
like to
which
think
is-
that
which
I
is
try to
nice,
be a
so.
leader too, some of like the
Absolutely.
younger
Leadership
guys on
is
the team.
definitely important.
I just
How
want
about
them to
you,
know
Ryan?
that like I'll always be there for them, and if they have any questions, I'll always be there.
Lead by example, yeah, for sure. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, though, I'll be joined by Coach James Kearney and both Stephanie Jarvis and Ryan Porter. Stay with us. Welcome back to Flyer Nation. I am now joined by Coach James Kearney, Stephanie Jarvis, and Ryan Porter of the men's and women's cross-country teams. Guys, thank you for joining us. You guys, Coach has talked a lot about the culture, the hardworking culture that you guys have. How would you say your culture differs from other sports here at Lewis?
You want to go? Go ahead.
You know, for me, I think it's definitely a year-round thing. So there is a lot of, I think, sacrifice when it comes to, you know, the year-round nature of our sport. Other sports have off seasons, and we really don't. You know, once we
Year-round
finish,
commitment.
yeah, once we finish cross country, we're right in the indoor track, and so that can be very mentally exhausting, I think.
Sure.
And so keeping things loose is a big part of kind of helping that. But I think that you'll notice that it's definitely a lifestyle, you know, and it's a year-round lifestyle. You know, they'll be able to speak to this a little bit better than me, but we're still running in the summer. You know, when we can't meet and when we're not in school. And I think that is, not to say that anyone's working less hard or more hard than anybody else, but it's definitely a different mentality when you're in a 20-hour-a-week season year-round.
For sure. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
Yeah, just kind of going off of what James said, just the fact that we are year-round, you know, it's kind of difficult sometimes when you see other teams, they have off seasons, they can just kind of rest, and we just don't really have that. Yeah, so it is, like you said, a lifestyle, and it's a big commitment. And even in the summer when you're working all the time and you want to maintain a social life and you need to run still, it's kind of just finding that balance and just figuring out when you got to fit in everything. So
Yeah, a lot of things for you guys to balance at this time.
Definitely.
Coach, you talked about the mental struggle that these athletes go through. It's very grueling every single day. When you see an athlete in a rut, or maybe they're not performing at their best, they're a little bit down, and you can see that it's affecting their run, how do you support them when they're going through those adverse situations?
Yeah, I think keeping the pathways of communication open is a big part of that. You know, like I'd mentioned earlier, we do kind of meet and communicate on a weekly to bi-weekly basis about goals and workouts, and you know, sometimes it might be just pulling somebody aside and saying, what's going on, you know, and addressing that and saying, you know, you do this so well, and you do, you know, you're able to accomplish X, Y, and Z during practice. What's going on in a race? What is your mindset going into it? Why aren't we doing what we want to do and accomplish as a unit? And I think that each athlete recognizes that the relationship that we share, athlete to coach, is definitely more of a partnership rather than just kind of a dictatorship. You know, yes, I have a huge say in what we're doing, how much, you know, and the science-based part, and their 50% is doing the work and pursuing the excellence. Like, it can be very difficult and stressful at times, but at the same time, when you do accomplish something, you know, and you get out of the rut, and you know, it's kind of the high five or the hug and the fun part of it. That's when it's just like, yeah, no matter what I struggle with, I'm always going to be able to work through it, and I'm always going to be able to accomplish something.
Yeah, it feels great to overcome adverse obstacles for sure. Stephanie and Ryan, what specific roles do you guys play in the recruiting process as athletes?
So one of the big things that we do, which a lot of teams do, is overnight visits. So someone that we're interested in having on our team, they'll come, they'll stay with someone in the dorms. They'll come, we usually do it on like a Sunday night to Monday. So they'll come Sunday night, eat dinner with us, kind of hang out with the team, and they'll spend the night in the dorms. And then on Monday, they'll go to class with us, and that way they can kind of see what life is like as a student athlete. us girls don't have practice on Mondays, so we just kind of eat breakfast and go to class, but I know the guys a little bit different.
Yeah, we take them in the morning on Mondays. We take them to our practices, and then we try to set up their schedule with like their major that they want to go to meet up with one of our athletes that are in their major, so they can see those classes that they're probably going to take if they come here.
Nice. Sounds very good. Great experience, getting the vibe of both the teams for sure. So you guys both run track in the spring. You know, track's a lot different from cross country. You're outside, going up and down hills, you're running on grass. Do you guys prefer, and any of you guys can answer this, do you guys prefer running on a track or running outdoors on the grass for cross country?
Well, I mean, I know as of right now, I definitely prefer cross country because I haven't been able to run a good track season yet because I get injured all the time.
Oh,
so
that's too bad.
as of right now, I prefer cross country, but that could change hopefully this year if I can finish a track season. So.
What about you guys? What do you think?
Right now, I prefer track right now. I like the flatter surfaces, and cross country is a little bit longer. I gotta run a little bit shorter distances in track.
Yeah, track's definitely a little bit easier for sure. Now, Coach, what did you see about Ryan and Steph during the recruiting process? What about them sticks out, not only as athletes and individuals? What makes them such great role models?
Yeah, you know, starting with Ryan, I think the biggest thing with Ryan was, you know, I noticed a part in him where it was just, you know, I recognized immediately he'd be a good fit. He was a great student in high school. He was very disciplined. You know, anyone I spoke with had nothing but really positive things to say. You know, when he came and did his overnight visit, I think they hit it off with the men's team very well. And that's a big part of it for me. You know, asking the current team, like, is this guy going to fit with us? Is he going to pursue, you know, what we hope to accomplish as a unit? And then the last part is how communicative are they with me? You know, I'm going to put the ball in your court a little bit. I'm going to see how hard you want to be here. And I think Ryan was relentless with, I'd like to come and visit. You know, he was very organized, very meticulous with things, and that really stands out to me. Do you want to be here? Do you want to be a part of what we're doing? I think is a really big part of who we are. It's not for everybody, and we don't take everybody. So that's a big part of it for me with Ryan. I really felt that he would be somebody that would embody our program and really help push it forward, and he was up to the task. You know, he was really motivated and really excited to be a part of that. You know, when you talk about Stephanie, I think the one part that really stood out to me initially was just her excitement. She was very excited to see how good she could be. You know, Stephanie was a high school volleyball player, never ran cross country in high school.
Wow.
So the potential was there, you know, and just to see that there's so much more room to grow was something that was really exciting for me. But seeing that she was excited about getting better as well was something that was really refreshing. And you know, sometimes I think as coaches we forget that there's a lot of teaching that goes on, and it got me back to teaching the sport, you know, in different ways. And she didn't have a lot of bad habits because she wasn't a year-round runner yet.
Good kid, yeah.
So that was something that really I identified with immediately. But then the other part of it is I think from an interpersonal level, we definitely connected right away. She was somebody that I felt very strongly about having here, and someone that I felt could come here, really blossom into an athlete, and really embody our culture at a high level.
Nice. High character individuals and highly driven individuals as well. Stephanie and Ryan, when you guys decided to run at Lewis, what about Coach James Kearney did you guys really like?
Well, I think, like, he said it best, where I feel like when we first met, you know, it's a little awkward when you first meet somebody who could be your potential coach. You're like, ooh, like, how do I act around them, whatever. But like he said, we just really hit it off. And I felt I'm the kind of person who likes a coach who is serious but also can joke around a little bit. So the fact that him and I kind of had that initial, like, we could joke around with each other, but then we could have the serious talks as well, that was really refreshing because I didn't have that in high school. So knowing that I was going to I could spend 4 years here and have that was definitely something that I wanted.
Yeah,
So.
more of a lighthearted atmosphere for
Yeah.
sure. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Stephanie said. I think we hit it off pretty well. We connected. Coach Kearney was pretty much one of the main reasons why I came here, because it just seemed like he knew what he was doing and he cared about his athletes from what I could hear from all the other teammates that were here already. I like that he's serious and that he can joke around with us. He's kind of like a kid, but when but when it's time to get down to business, he's real serious and really cares about us. And I really like that.
Yeah, very good. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you guys hosted the Lewis crossover right here in Romeoville on October 12th. It was the largest Division II only meet in the entire country. What did you guys do to prepare for this meet? How was your preparation different since it was such a large meet? There were so many good teams, so many good runners there. Was your preparation different, or was it just like any other meet?
It was not like any other meet. And the reason being is, you know, typically when we're getting ready for a big invitational like that, I'm around. And when you're the head coach of a program that's hosting a meet like that, you're meet director first, and unfortunately kind of coaching becomes the back burner a little bit.
Yeah.
So the nice part for me is to observe kind of how disciplined we are as a group when I'm not around. When I'm out working on the course, or when I'm out, you know, handling administrative duties, are they getting the work done? You know, and is it happening when I'm not there and when I'm not around? I do have to say that Coach Johnson, our graduate assistant, was a huge help with that as well. Nice. But it's when you're getting ready for a meet of, you know, in some cases 500 to 600 people in a race, it can be very threatening, yeah. and to see that many people on a starting line, for me, it was almost a relief when the guns started, you know, because it's like, oh, finally, you know, it's here. So it's a different type of atmosphere, for sure. You know, the nice parts for us when we travel is I don't have to do any of that, so I really get to, you know, hone in on the individual even more and even further, and really get to address some of the things from the coaching perspective that, you know, may get kind of thrown on the back burner a little bit when you're also hosting the biggest invitational in the country.
Yeah, for sure. Were there any specific things that you guys did to get involved in the production of the meet at all?
Well, the girls team, we did all the packets, so everything, all the information, all the bib numbers, everything that was given out to each team, we put that together. So, but the guys,
we did some more manual labor. The day before, there was, right at the top of the hill, there was tons of holes and water, so we filled the holes with like mulch, and we had like 50 bags of mulch. We had to make a run to Menards with Coach. It was pretty hectic, but it was kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, that sounds great. Sounds like a great experience, for sure. Well, that's going to be all for our show today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Best of luck on both your guys' season, on all your guys' season. I hope you guys do well this year. For the rest of the year and postseason, I hope you guys make nationals. Good luck to you guys. I hope you guys do well.
thank you.
That's all for this episode of Flyer Nation. I'm Matt Mohan. Make sure to catch our next episode on the Lewis University Television Network. Thanks for watching.